Snipes and Insights. It's Thursday, May 8th. And Tyler, pause me if you heard this before. We had an incredible game of NHL playoffs last night.
Yeah, it was really, really fun, especially if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. And man, Mikko Rantanen and the Moose, we've been talking about him a lot. And I know Avalanche fans don't want to hear anything else about him, but how about Mikko Rantanen with that natural Hattie in game number one?
Incredible. There's just a lot of good storylines, a lot of good stuff happening. And just before we get into it, too, it's a PuckPedia show, Snipes and Insights, presented by our friends at CoolBet. Stay cool. Bet responsibly. If you're a first-time user, go to puckpedia.com/coolbet to get all your betting needs situated. Let's just get right into the games. Let's start with that first game. Tyler's been undefeated, I think, since he's been watching the Maple Leafs games on his buddy's couch, although the shotgun had a lot to be desired. But the Leafs grind out a 4-3 victory last night. Max Pacioretty has been on fire since being inserted into the lineup. He has 6 goals in 6 games since he's played. As we called on the podcast, Max Domi, big goal, 3-2 go-ahead goal at the time. What were your thoughts on this game? I got a lot to talk about, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah, in regards to my buddy's shotgun, you'd have to follow me on Instagram to see that. So if you want to see it, yeah, it's on my Instagram story for
shameless plug, but I respect.
Probably a few more hours. But yeah, it was a fun game, right? Like the Florida Panthers were not good in the first 40 minutes in game one. And then like all of a sudden, the first 20 minutes last night, Keith, I thought they were great. They ended up coming out of the period 1-1, and then the teams kind of just traded goals. And then all of a sudden, Max Domi, huge goal. Max Pacioretty had a big goal and a big assist in the game. So all of a sudden, he's been a point-of-game player since being inserted into the lineup. And then the new dad, Mitch Marner, like all of a sudden, Florida ties it. Boom, 17 seconds later, Marner just throws one on net, posted in. And then the Maple Leafs, like they haven't been able to do in the past, hold a third period lead in the playoffs. So if you're a Maple Leafs fan, you're 10 wins away from a Stanley Cup, but obviously those 10 wins are going to be really, really hard to get.
And we were just one game delayed from the Mitch Marner dad bump to get him that goal. He got it in game 2 instead of game 1. A lot of good things to come out of this game. Let's start with Joseph Woll. I thought he was really, really solid in net. Made a ton of key saves for the Maple Leafs last night. Almost a goal saved above expected, 0.78. He was really solid, filling in for Anthony Stolarz, who was injured with an upper body injury in game 1. It looks like it's going to be Woll's net for the foreseeable future. As Craig Berube said, he doesn't expect Anthony Stolarz to travel with the team. What did you think of Woll last night?
I thought Woll was really, really steady. Like a couple bounces here and there, like the Lundell goal, Ekblad kind of just puts it in the crease, and Ekman-Larsson loses the guy. But as you say, made some big saves. The biggest one in the third period. Think about at the midway point on Mackie Samoskevich. We talked about him potentially being inserted into the lineup, a little youth for Paul Maurice. I liked it, but the toe save that Woll made on Mackie Samoskevich proved out to be a huge one and the biggest save of the game. And then what was Bobrovsky on the bench for 2.5, 3 minutes at the end of that game? Woll was just a barrage of pucks coming his way, and the Maple Leafs and himself stood tall. So impressed by him, but it's going to be a tough game 3 for him going down to Florida.
Speaking of Bobrovsky, too, I thought there was a little to be desired with his game. He was a minus 2.24 goals saved above expected last night. The goals, I wouldn't say they were necessarily, all his fault, but there are a couple there that you would hope that your star goaltender has, especially in a big game in the playoffs. So I thought Bob had a little bit to be desired. And then also, we got to talk about this embellishment call on Evan Rodriguez. Seth, if we can get that video rolling. I thought this was ridiculous to call embellishment on that. Scott Laughton hits him right in the numbers. And, he went down the tunnel. I don't even know if he returned for the rest of the game. He might have. But the point still stands. He clearly got injured on the play. And how are you going to call an embellishment on that? The Florida Panthers didn't even end up with a power play out of that situation.
Yeah, that was a weird one. Quickly, let's go back to game 1 where Max Domi took a cross-checking penalty on Brad Marchand. Up until this embellishment call, that was one of the worst calls I've seen in the playoffs. Max Domi didn't do anything to Marchand. All of a sudden, he's getting called for cross-checking. And then in this game, yeah, players getting hit from behind like that, you can't really argue that he embellished. I have noticed, though, Evan Rodriguez does leave a lot of games for a short period of time. So he tends to get injured and come back. He didn't actually end up missing a shift. So ended up walking to the room, came back. And then, it was Laughton had 2 minutes and 2 minutes for roughing. So he didn't even get a boarding penalty. So it was just weird how things played out. But we've seen bad calls throughout this playoffs, obviously in the first 2 games of this series, going back to round 1. But that embellishment one obviously raised a lot of question marks.
And the last thing you want in these playoffs is for it to be a total ref show. You want them to kind of not be the storyline. So for that to come out of that is obviously not ideal. And also for the Toronto Maple Leafs, like the Florida Panthers did have their number at 5-on-5. Not a single Maple Leaf skater had above a 50% expected goal share at 5-on-5 last night. Nylander was the highest at around 45%. So as the series shifts from Toronto to Florida, you have to say there's not too much in the game that the Panthers will want to change. They'll obviously want to win the game, but I think just limiting a couple of the maybe chances that the Maple Leafs are getting here and there. But for the most part, the Panthers have played pretty well in the first two games, and it's probably a disservice that they're down 2-0.
For sure, but you're looking at some guys to step up. Like, where was Matthew Tkachuk last night, Keith? Like, what was Tkachuk doing out there? You never really noticed him. I know he's one of the slower skaters in the National Hockey League by the stats now since the players get tracked, but like Tkachuk wasn't really noticeable. I mentioned Verhaeghe and Reinhart yesterday. Verhaeghe was pretty physical. You noticed him hitting guys here and there, but still offensively, him and Reinhart weren't there. So you expect a lot of these Panthers stars in their top six to take a step in game three because 0-3 in a series is very, very tough to do. Only done a couple times, and I wouldn't like that if I was a Florida Panthers fan.
Indeed. And we got game 3 for that series coming up on Friday night. Let's shift into the other game now, where we got the Dallas Stars and the Winnipeg Jets. And Mikko Rantanen single-handedly beat the Winnipeg Jets last night by a score of 3-2. He had a natural hat trick in the game. Seth, if we could pull up the tweet first of Mikko Rantanen, this stat really kind of blew me by surprise right here. So he's factored into his team's last 12 goals, either having a goal or one of the 2 assists, which is the longest streak in the playoffs. He entered tied with Mario Lemieux. Ever heard of him? Who had a point in 9 straight playoff goals with the Penguins in 1992. So he's now surpassed that to a ridiculous 12. We'll see it when they play on game 3 on Friday if he can extend that. But man, what a great game for him, Seth. If we could roll the video of his goals last night. I thought Mikko Rantanen was obviously incredible. That's a big storyline. What were your takeaways from this game? All things considered, I thought Connor Hellebuck was actually pretty solid.
Hellebuck was great. We kind of knew he would be on home ice, but yeah, a lot of the goals just tough. The first one he poked in, that one's just a beautiful deflection by Mikko Rantanen, and then this play, just a lucky bounce. When you're in on your goal on your team's 11 goals in a row, why not get a 12th on a lucky
Or
bounce
Sandberg.
off a defenseman and in? Yeah, Dylan Sandberg, rough play. He actually played that pretty well to take away the pass, goes off him and in. And I like what Pete DeBoer did. He was playing Mikko Rantanen on his regular line. He was also giving him some shifts with Sam Steele and Evgeny Dodonov on the fourth line. So to get the Moose out there on his top line minutes, to get him out there a little more playing with the fourth line, like one of those goals was created by Sam Steele. Like he gained the zone, and instead of dumping it in, he kind of just stopped up, fed Dodonov for a one-timer, and then Mikko Rantanen poked it in for his first of the game. So love what Peter DeBoer did. Get the Moose as much ice time as he can, and that stat we just showed, it's actually unbelievable, like legitimately unbelievable that he's been in on his team's last 12 goals.
Yeah, and Mikko Rantanen aside, like the rest of the team was also really good last night. We saw Jason Robertson return and play a decent amount of the game. The 2 big defenders on both sides, Josh Morrissey and Miro Heiskanen, still remain out. But Mark Scheifele came back for the Winnipeg Jets. He ended up scoring a goal as well. So it was good to see him get up back on the board and get into the action. But yeah, for Winnipeg, I thought they played a decent game at home. You know, you're not going to want to go down 2-0 in this series, so we'll see what happens on Friday in game 3. But I didn't think Hellebuck was the issue as he had been in the other games. Winnipeg also lost their first home game of the playoffs in this game, so it'll be interesting to see how they respond in the next one.
Yeah, you got to bounce back on home ice. Like the crowd was kind of taken out of it in that second period, which we're not used to seeing in Winnipeg. Like it's usually pretty crazy there with the whiteout. So yeah, you expect them to bounce back. You expect a guy like Kyle Connor or even Mark Scheifele, who came back and scored, as he said, to have maybe a big game. And Josh Morrissey, I think you said yesterday he was in the regular jersey. He didn't end up playing, but you'd expect him to play game 2. I think I'd be shocked if he didn't play in the second game.
Yeah, and I was surprised that Robertson made it back in the lineup before Heiskanen, because Heiskanen traveled in the Avalanche series for the 2 road games where Robertson didn't. So that would allude that Heiskanen was kind of closer to coming back. So I'm kind of interested to see what's going on there. You know, he's a big time player, but they're also up 1-0, so they're probably not going to rush him back in game 2. They already got their win in Winnipeg. But let's get right into today's games. I think we have just, you know, another day of 2 more incredible games. We have game 2 of the Washington Capitals and the Carolina Hurricanes. Seth, if we get the lines and lineup combos up and rolling, Carolina, a big road favorite tonight, -167 on the money line by Coolbet. The Washington Capitals +141, and the over-under is set at 5.5. Not too many lineup changes, but a couple things to note here. It looks like star rookie Ryan Leonard is going to be out of the lineup tonight as Brandon Duhaime slots into the fourth line with Taylor Radish moving up to the third line with Lars Eller and Andrew Mangiapane. I saw a lot of outrage online for this, but I don't necessarily hate the move of giving him a game, let him watch everything from the press box, and then maybe insert him back on the road in Carolina in game 3. Not to say he's played bad. I thought he's played pretty well, but he also only has one empty net goal in the regular season and has no goals in the playoffs so far. So I think a reset could be good for him. In the Carolina side, Mark Jankowski is a game-time decision on that fourth line. It'll be interesting to see if he can't go, if they roll with someone like Jack Roslovic, who can play center and wing for the Hurricanes. D pairs look the same. Goaltenders, we got Freddie Anderson versus Logan Thompson. What are you excited about for this game?
I'm excited to see what the Washington Capitals do. Like, they didn't have many scoring chances last game. I know that's the prototypical Rod Brind'Amour and Carolina Hurricanes way of playing hockey, but like, what can Spencer Carberry do to kind of get in the offensive zone, create chances, just get more pucks to the net? So you're looking at a couple players, a guy you mentioned last game, Connor McMichael, like you're looking for him to drive offense on that second line with Pierre-Luc Dubois. So we'll see what he can do. And in regards to the Ryan Leonard move, I like it as well. Like, having a young player, especially as young as Ryan Leonard, watching from the press box, just seeing everything unfold from that level instead of ice level on the bench is so big for a player like that. So maybe it's one game, maybe it's 2 or 3 that he's out of the lineup, but to bring in a guy like Taylor Radish, who's been in the league for so long, it's a good player to insert. And maybe Ryan Leonard, hey, maybe the Caps win this game, maybe they win the next, and Ryan Leonard doesn't even see another game in this series, but still a good building block for him to watch a lot of these games.
100%. And Seth, if we could get back to that game 1 graphic going here, I think that this is a pretty telling story. And I heard Spencer Carberry talk about it today. Like, you look at the shot attempts, right? 94-34 in favor of the Hurricanes, a delta of 60 shot attempts. But Carberry didn't seem all that stressed about it because, one, like you mentioned, that's just the system that the Carolina Hurricanes play. They have a lot of shot attempts, but they don't focus on quality. They focus on quantity. And Spencer Carberry was saying how he didn't feel like a lot of their chances were necessarily high danger. If you look at like Slavin's overtime winner, for example, just a shot from the point. But eventually, it's like playing the lottery. The more tickets you get, the more chances you have to win. Like, you keep shooting a bunch of pucks at net, eventually they're going to fall in. So I think from that side of things, like, you look at Washington, what are they going to do to adjust in this game so that you look at the offensive zone time, right? 33 minutes to 16 minutes. It's almost 50% more for the Hurricanes there. So I look at Washington to kind of really reset here and try to force the issue tonight. I look to a guy, if you ever heard of him, his number's 8. His name is Aleksander Ovechkin. I look for him to get on the score sheet tonight. We're looking at his odds to score a goal tonight. It's plus 132 on CoolBet. The Capitals were 0 for 2 on the power play in game 1. The Hurricanes have one of the best penalty kills in the NHL this season. They were number 1 in penalty kill percentage. But to me, all it takes is one for Aleksander Ovechkin to put in the back of the net. You let him loosen that left circle one time, he's possibly going to let one rip and let it fly past Freddie Anderson.
Yeah, I'm all in for a grade 8 playoff goal. We already saw him this playoff score his first career overtime goal in the postseason. So why not just keep on scoring? I love that. He's one of the players that has to drive your offense, and he's not going to be cutting through the neutral zone, gaining the zone, and you know what, like creating it that way. But he's going to do what he can do in the offensive zone. If it's not on the power play, he's going to still try to do it even strength. And maybe Alexi Protas can get him going if he gets up there. Maybe Dylan Strome, who's played great with Alexander Ovechkin this entire season, can get him going. And it's not like Spencer Carberry and the Capitals haven't seen this before. They're division rivals with the Capitals. They've seen this all season. They watch a lot of video. There's ways to get through this Carolina defense that I'm sure Spencer Carberry and his coaching staff can figure it out.
Teams have figured it out in the playoffs too, right? The Hurricanes are always one of the best teams in the regular season. They've had 7 straight seasons of playoffs under Rod Brind'Amour. They've won in the first round all 7 times. So they make it at least to the second round. But in those same 7 years, they've never made it to the Cup final. So in the second and third rounds, they find ways to kind of stumble or hit roadblocks. And teams have been able to figure it out. So we'll see if the Capitals are one of those teams to figure it out, or if the Hurricanes make it on into the Eastern Conference Finals. They're going to be looking to go up 2-0 tonight in Washington. Washington's going to try and defend home ice. Let's get into the other game tonight. Another just really, really solid game. We got the Vegas Golden Knights against the Edmonton Oilers. Edmonton is up 1-0 in this series. If we can get the lines and lineup combos going tonight, we have the Oilers as a slight road dog, plus 113 on the money line from CoolBet. The Vegas Golden Knights are minus 133. The over-under, again, is set at 6.5. Pretty high over-under here. we're looking at the lines, there's absolutely no changes for the Edmonton Oilers. They're going to roll with what worked for them in game one. Same, forward groups, Draisaitl, McDavid playing together. We got Nurse and Bouchard on that top pairing. John Klingberg's a guy who I think has had a really, really solid playoffs. He had a bunch of brutal injury history. Then he was bouncing around between a few teams, but I think he's found a good landing spot in Edmonton on that second pairing with Jake Wallman. And then we have Calvin Pickard in net yet again tonight. If we look at the Vegas side of things, Dorofeev is still out. And then Alex Pietrangelo is a game time decision. Korsak will come out of the lineup if Petro is good to go. And then we got Aiden Hill in net. What do we like for this game here, Tyler?
Well, it's the last guy you mentioned. Aiden Hill has to be one of the, or if not the best player in this hockey game. Calvin Pickard is still undefeated. He led in a couple early goals in game one to Mark Stone and then locked it down from there. His team ended up scoring 4 unanswered. So Pickard's been good when he's needed. But Aiden Hill, we said it in one of our last episodes, like he still hasn't been that X factor for this Vegas team to kind of get over the hump and win some hockey games. So I'm looking for Aiden Hill tonight to have a really good home ice start. Kaden Korczak actually was really impressive. That was his first ever playoff game. So even if Pietrangelo still can't go with that illness, you really like Kaden Korczak's game in game one. And then Barbashev, Eichel, Stone. We talked a lot about Wild Bill, William Karlsson playing up there. I almost like better the Eichel, Hurdle, Karlsson top 3 centers. So kind of like spreading the wealth there. We'll see what Barbashev can do. And on the other side, like you talked about the Nugent Hopkins, Kane, Hyman line last game. They set up the game winner. Like what passing from Nugent Hopkins to Kane to Hyman. All of a sudden you get a snipe from number 18 and that's your game winner. So I love that line. Obviously it's hard to not love the top line with the 2 big boys with the Worm, Corey Perry. So this series should be really, really fun and expecting another exciting game too here tonight in Vegas.
Speaking of that Hyman goal too, like that's got to be feel like 7 miles away from the net for him where he usually finishes. It's right in front of the net. I think he had 38 of his 50 goals last year were from 3 feet in front of the net. He had a snipe from 20 feet away. That's really from distance for him. And then to your point about Aiden Hill, there have been 18 goalies in the playoffs so far that have played 3+ games. Aiden Hill ranks 16 out of 18 in goals saved above expected per 60. He's about saving less than minus 0.5 goals saved above expected per 60. So about every other game, he's letting in a goal that he shouldn't. So that's definitely a big key for Vegas. They're going to need Aiden Hill to step up. They're a team that just needs average goaltending, right? They've built such a strong offensive and defensive grouping that they just need average goaltending. So hopefully they get that for Aiden Hill tonight if they want to even out this series. If we can get this McDavid graphic going up too. I mean, Connor McDavid, I know we talk about him over and over again. He's the best player in the NHL, but these are his playoff ranks in the playoffs so far this season. O-zone possession, second, almost 10 minutes total. But then rush chances, slot shots, slot passes, points, all ranked first, right? The areas of the ice that are the hardest to get to, especially this time of year, number 97 is thriving in those situations, which is what he naturally does. And he's a big reason why the Oilers are able to win 5 straight games in the playoffs now, 4 straight against LA, and then a 5th now against Vegas to go up 1-0 in that series.
Yeah, just looking at Connor McDavid numbers is fun, isn't it? And seeing second in O-zone possession, who's first? Who's first right now? Mikko Rantanen, I have no idea, but seeing Connor McDavid not first is weird when he's first in rush chances and slot shots and etc. So yeah, it's fun watching number 97, especially when Chris Knoblauch does play him with Leon Draisaitl. It's they don't even need to be looking at each other to find each other. It's he'll gain the zone, which he'll have a slot pass to Draisaitl and just connect. It's so fun watching these 2 players play. So, Vegas is going to come hard tonight. The Edmonton Oilers aren't going to have an easy game whatsoever. We'll see if the Knights can score the first goal or the first 2 like last game, but hold the lead this time. And we'll see what McJesus has up his sleeve. He wants to get the Oilers back to the Western Conference Final, and he's going to try to put the team on his back like always.
Yeah, I thought the Vegas Golden Knights left a lot to be desired last game. At 5-on-5, they only generated 9 shots on goal through 3 periods. So, I mean, that's 3 shots a period at 5-on-5. That's just not going to cut it, especially when you have a guy like Calvin Pickard who has been a stabilizing force behind the Edmonton net, but he hasn't been an elite goaltender. And he's going to be a guy you want to pepper with shots because you're going to hope that some leak through. They only had 26.6% expected goal share in those 5-on-5 minutes last game as well. So again, Edmonton just kind of really dominated the game at even strength. If I'm looking for a player to step up tonight, I think it's going to be Ivan Barbashev, a guy they gave a big ticket to a couple years ago, a 5x5 deal to be their first or second line winger. He's had 1 even strength point in the playoffs so far. That's tied for 10th on his team, right? In the regular season, he had 48 even strength points, which was second on his team, ahead of Mark Stone and every other player not named Jack Eichel. So to me, he's a guy who's going to have to contribute at 5-on-5 if the Vegas Golden Knights want a chance to even out the series tonight at home.
I am doubling down on Ivan Barbashev. I've loved Ivan Barbashev ever since he came into the league with St. Louis. He's a Stanley Cup champ with the Golden Knights. And to play with Stone and Eichel, you expect big things if you're a VGK fan. And Barbashev can do that. Like the even strength points, those got to come at some point. Maybe it's on the power play tonight, though. Maybe it's even strength. Who knows? But I love the Ivan Barbashev play tonight. Number 49 should have a big game. He'll have a big game at some point in this series. We're just hoping it comes here in game 2.
100%. And that's all the time we have for you guys here today. A great show, Snipes and Insights. We got 2 amazing games like we mentioned tonight. We'll see if either home team is able to fend off their opponents and even the series at 1, or if the 2 road teams end up winning and going back to their own barns up 2-0. It's Keith. It's Tyler. We're presented by CoolBet. Stay cool. Bet responsibly. Go to puckpedia.com/coolbet to get in on the action. Have a good night.